Real estate photographers are about to get busier because of some recent developments that are opening up some new opportunities. You may have heard about this recent shakeup between Matterport, the CoStar Group, and VHT Studios. Well, there's a lot to this story and what's happening right now and what we can expect in the coming months and the next few years as well. So what I want to do is I want to delve into this, take a look at what's going on right now, what's going on behind the scenes, and then what we can expect as real estate photographers going forward. And spoiler alert, it's good news. Now, you may be familiar with VHT Studios. That was one of the most popular photo mills across the US, and they were swooped up though by Matterport in 2022. But in 2025, the CoStar Group, which has Homes.com and Apartments.com, they swooped up Matterport. So in this big umbrella, you have CoStar Group owning Matterport that owned VHT Studios. But then, in July 2025, just recently, VHT Studios announced that it will cease all operations by the end of August 2025. While this will impact competition because there will be less competition from VHT Studios out there, there's even more to this story that will have an impact in a positive way for real estate photographers. So one of the things to bear in mind is that when it comes to Matterport, they have never been profitable, ever. They've been around for quite a while, but they never made a dime, hence being sold then kind of as a last-ditched effort by CoStar Group early in 2025. But the earnings reports from CoStar Group talk about a different story. When we take a look at CoStar's 2025 Q2 earnings, we can see that their revenue increased, but there was about a 300% decline in profits from the last quarter, and that's about a 67% drop year over year. Now, a lot of that is because the CoStar Group is absorbing costs from this acquisition of Matterport. But it's also because their stock didn't really take off like gangbusters, thinking that this would be a good move. A lot of investors are still very leery about anything that has the Matterport name on it because Matterport, once again, has never been profitable. If we back this up though to why CoStar Group acquired Matterport, it's because the CoStar Group with Homes.com wants to compete against Zillow. So what they're doing now is with having Matterport as an offering, they're doing something similar to what Zillow is with their showcase listings. And if you're not familiar with that, I have a video on that down in the description of this video, a link to that. You can watch and learn more about how that really plays out for realtors, what that means for real estate photographers. But now that CoStar wants to compete with Zillow, well, they've got Matterport, yeah they do, but that still doesn't mean they're going to be able to become profitable doing it. Just looking at the traffic, we can see the long road ahead that they have to go because Zillow continues to dominate web traffic, and even Realtor.com is outpacing Homes.com, which is CoStar's website for where the Matterport acquisition really takes hold, and you can see Homes.com is just way down in the noise. But putting this aside on this long road to hoe for Homes.com, the CoStar Group, to really compete against Zillow, we have to think about the primary objective and the offering that is built around this immersive experience that they're trying to compete against between Zillow and Homes.com, and that's 3D virtual tours. And are they really going to be profitable? Because a lot has changed since the pandemic. If you were to base your numbers to justify an acquisition of a company based on the years 2020 through 2022, you would see this immense growth in 3D virtual tours. But this is 2025, and a lot has changed since then. In fact, just according to Zillow's 2024 report, 86% of buyers would likely view a home if it has a floor plan, and that keeps putting floor plans high on the typical add-ons that someone may buy from a real estate photographer. At the same time, only about 27% of buyers preferred virtual tours compared to in-person viewing. And when we take a look at the National Association of Realtors, we can see that in their 2025 report, videos are still more popular than virtual tours. And I've talked about this before, and the trend really hasn't changed much in the last year, where floor plans are still really high, right under photos, and then comes video and then virtual tours next. Well, the thing with virtual tours is that you can't use them like videos and that you can't put them on Instagram. So are they really worth it? Which Makes you wonder why the CoStar group would even go after Matterport to buy them up, thinking that that's going to really help them when they were already profitable, but now as we can see, they're starting to take a financial hit. But the bigger take-home point isn't if somebody's going to invest in the CoStar group or what that means. We can take a look at the future of them, and that starts getting iffy on what you might do with Matterport. But immediately we see an opening of the field because VHT Studios is going away, so we don't have that competition, which was undercutting real estate photographers, and there's a big lesson to be learned here. VHT Studios had built a marketing strategy of undercutting real estate photographers by charging just $145 in many areas in the US for photos. That's unsustainable. In fact, it's well below the national average. I've got videos talking about pricing too down in the description if you want to watch some of those. But having such a low price point means that you have to constantly get new clients. And that's one reason why they were undercutting, because when you don't have good quality photos, then you aren't going to get repeat business. This is why you don't compete on price. It's a race to the bottom, and all you're doing is competing with everybody else with prices. This is why I say that when you do your research for your pricing and you find prices in your area, you need to go higher. Because it's really only companies like VHT Studios that need to constantly get work and a high turn rate because they don't have a lot of repeat work. Those are the people that publish their prices, and they're going to be very low. And as we've seen here, the undercutting other photographers eventually led to the demise of their business. And you might ask, well, is that really the reason? Well, it only makes sense that if they were profitable, that there would be no reason for the CoStar group to cut them loose. Instead, if they really weren't pulling their own weight, and if they weren't very profitable compared to the effort that was put into them, then the best business decision would be to let them go. Now, there is still, though, concern about, well, there's photographers that work for Zillow, there are photographers that work for Homes.com. That's something I don't even worry about. As you know by now, if you've been following what Zillow has been doing for the last 10 years or so, they've changed their mind yearly on what they do about photographers working for them, with them. It never pans out. It never works out very well. So that's not really one of my concerns. It really, though, is a bigger lesson to learn. If you're going to compete as a real estate photographer, the best thing is not to compete on price. It's to compete on quality and to compete on service. The goal of real estate photography, unlike other genres that may be one-off like weddings, real estate photography is based off of repeat work. That's what keeps a steady income going year over year over year. And you aren't going to get repeat business if you don't provide good quality. And if you do provide good quality, there are people willing to pay higher prices for it. That is a more sustainable business model than just trying to undercut everybody in price and not having good quality photos. These are, of course, some new developments and new changes, but as you know, these things can change very quickly. So I'll continue to stay on top of it, and as things progress, I will keep you posted.